Hello, I'm here on RANTBOX TV. I'm John Clay. We're doing that rare thing when we offer nuanced commentary on race, gender, and other community concerns in the 21st century Britain and abroad. As usual, we are subject-driven, and so we'll avoid the risk of spending 15 to 20 minutes introducing the people that we have. That will unfurl as we continue. So if you're watching on the full-length version of this on YouTube and you like our content, do remember to hit like and click subscribe for more of this kind of upload. So today's question is the commodification of marginalized cultures for commerce. Eugene, tell me more about your background growing up in the Ukraine.
Hi, John. Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting us. It's really an honor and pleasure for me.
It's fine. It's fine. So yeah, I'd like to know more about your background in the Ukraine, because that will have something to do with our question today.
Yes, I will try. My English is not perfect, but I think Paul will help me.
Yeah, okay.
And it's quite triggering for me to talk about this, and especially on the camera, on the video, but I will try. I was born in Kiev. This is capital of Ukraine, in the age of Kiev.
At the edge of Kiev.
At the edge of Kiev. And it was in 1980. It was like Soviet Union. And I was born in a very strange family, but quite a lot of families in Ukraine like this. My grandma was one who organized Bolshevik Revolution. One member of people who organized Bolshevik Revolution in Kiev, and she was Jewish. But then she worked in KGB. It's like NKVD department, and she was like one of main figures in Kiev and in KGB, and she signed orders to shoot people. And she was really concerned that she helped party and she helped communism. She was really idealistic, and at the same time she was Jewish, and they didn't like Jewish people in Soviet Union. And if you want to be a member of party, you had to change your nationality and even your surname to Russian. And she, all her life, she hid her nationality and tried to hide her Jewish accent, and she had like Russian surname.
Wow.
And
how did this affect you and your identity?
Yes, I feel like not fully Ukrainian, fully welcomed in Ukraine, because I'm half of Jewish, and my dad was Jewish, and he died from cancer when I was 5 years old, and he had very difficult life because when he was child, there were fascists in Kiev, and they came to take him and to shoot him. And one Ukrainian woman said that he is her son, and she saved him.
Wow.
So it's quite.
Yeah, it's very heavy, like to say the very least. Can I just ask, how did you guys meet?
In Ukraine. No, I lived in Ukraine for about 18 years before coming back to UK a few years ago. So, I was part of running like a coffee house drop-in sort of center thing in Kiev, and at that time there wasn't really a lot of things going on, and
It was like social work.
yeah, it was like social work, but it was
mostly for street kids.
Yeah, a lot of street kids and just people that had nowhere to go, which really there was a lot of people at a loose end at that time. So it was very popular, and
I came to this coffee house and we start to play music together in this coffee house.
Yeah, that was the first time.
Indeed, indeed. There's so much about your backstory which is fascinating. What I'll do is, in the description box of this video, I'll put a link to the interview that you did with Alex Mazey, because that's what I first read of you guys when you sent it my way, and it's just, there's so much there, and I'd rather people read it as well, because it's obviously, for you, as you said, it's quite triggering. But we'll move on to the next question, which is to do with our overall topic today. Paul, you identify as non-binary, yes? How do you feel about people with massive platforms who feel threatened by non-binary folk and as an ideologue rather than a group of people?
Okay, I think that's a very complicated question. And the more you think about it, the more complicated it becomes. But instead of just saying, well, they're bigots, I'd like to try and say something. So I think the reason why people probably feel they're threatened if they have a big platform, if they have a lot of influence, is because they don't want to lose their influence. I mean, maybe there are lots of other reasons, but this is probably the main reason. And this is to do with predictability about mass culture and how mass culture portrays what gender should be and binaries, but not just that, it covers everything, I think, but in the sense of non-binary, they feel threatened because it's something that they're not used to. And so if you're trying to make money, if you have a platform, usually you're trying to monetize your platform, make money. And so the way to do that is to know who your audience is, and so the simpler things can be for them, the easier.
Sure.
So I think if you put it in a capitalist concept, then that is probably the reason why they feel threatened. The biggest reason why they feel threatened is because this ideology is a threat to change, for something to change, and they don't want things to be different. They want things to be the way they're structured, and then that just makes it easy to sell.
Sure. Can you give me an example that comes to mind when you talk about this?
An example. Well, for instance, when you talk about binary in culture, you think about gender roles in society. If you go way back to we talk about very structured roles, which are changing now, and I think people with platforms are changing how they look at this because they have to. But if you go way back, it's like mom is in the kitchen and you're selling mom washing machines and things for the kitchen. Dad is so this is the very, obviously it's changed, you know, since the 50s quite a lot, but there's still a very binary roles, things that you can sell men certain kinds of perfume, you can sell women this, you can, and if you don't know, it's hard to make products for people that you don't understand.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And
I think is that an example? I think that's it.
Well, you took it into a different place. I was thinking, can you think of a specific, say, personality or say group of people who have been threatened by the idea of non-binary people, rather than understanding that they are just people? You know, I can think of a few examples, but I don't want to. Okay. I don't want to feed this into.
So did I answer a different question?
Sorry?
Did I answer a different question?
You answered it in a different way, but that's fine. I'm happy to know that you answered it like that.
Okay.
But yeah, like what I'd like to know more, because the umbrella topic today is the commodification of marginalized cultures for commerce. Let's face it, you're a Guardian journalist's wet dream. If only one of you were a person of color to make the dream complete. I mean, do you ever get concerned that your unique backstory will be co-opted by press as an ongoing commodification of marginalized folk?
So far, I can't imagine it, because so far I see quite opposite things. I see like somehow we are a threat for like even for social justice, liberal culture, for something like this, because we are not fully fit in. And I can give you example. You already said something about this in your question, but I had like funny, not very funny, but experience with one small DIY label that helps, that support marginalized people, marginalized musicians, invited me. They really invited me to join them. And then they asked me to talk a bit about me, about my story. And I was very excited. I didn't realize that they will invite me to join them. And I honestly told them my story. And when they realized that I'm not Black.
Wow.
Yes. And yes, I was shocked, and because it's absolutely different, and my story absolutely different, of course. And that I'm not fully white. I mean white Western, and I haven't connections to these platforms to help them financially or something like this. And they just started harass me, and they started bullying because I don't fit in. I don't know what they feel. It was like they can sell it or something like this, and I can't help them. And I feel this is like it works when social justice activism just turned out to product for selling. Yeah. It's not care for marginalized people, really. It's not.
So what were their attitude changed towards you because you didn't have what they needed to sell what they were, right?
I think so. I think so, because I don't fully fit in.
Sure.
And also I think that people, that Ukrainians and other Eastern Europeans, they haven't a big community in the Western world. So, and they haven't any power, so they don't represent it so much in Western world. So I don't think, and we approached some journalists, some press more with our music, but they weren't interested at all. Even who should be interested in social justice activism. And we really focused on our music, because when people hear about my story, quite a lot of people unfollow me because they feel threatened, or it's something like exotic for them, something too marginalized, or I don't know what they think.
Did they actually write to you, say that they were no longer interested, or they just stopped following you? Did you see a change once your story was out there? Is that what you're saying?
People, do you mean our audience, that they started just unfollow us. They didn't say anything.
Wow. What do you think that could you do anything about this? I mean, it's such a horrible situation to be in, because you're having the ability to express who you are now and not necessarily have to play any role because of any particular area that you're living in, or the kind of people that might have given your mother like problems. Now you can actually be yourself, and they're not really accepting that. That must be so difficult. Like, what do you think, Paul?
It's very difficult. I think I think it's also related just to people. A lot of people like to relate to something, you know, that is in their life and somehow is connected to them, whether it be like the music that you listen to when you're 16 years old that you still listen to today, which is nothing wrong with that. But people, you know, culture is definitely a commodity, you know, and whether you like it or not, if you've been watching TV for a number of years in UK, you will have seen different things to someone in Ukraine. And I think because it's not quite something they can place, people reject it because it's difficult to empathize sometimes. Sometimes you don't want to listen to other people's stories. You want to just because you don't find them relevant to you. I guess that's a simple way I can put it.
I suppose so. It
And
does,
especially maybe in the age of social media, because it's very easy, very quick to unfollow and like. It's oh, that's what I like, that's what I don't like. It happens very fast in somebody's brain. And
yeah, it's just, it sounds quite tragic in that you can be listening to someone's music, reading their lyrics, totally at one with what it is they're saying. Then they introduce an element of their life, and it's not like you're saying something that you've done which is criminal or morally reprehensible. You're just showing another part of your personality, and they use that as an opportunity to leave. So maybe in a way you don't want such people being part of your fellowship to begin with, then, really, because if they're that fickle, you know, then maybe you don't want to have an association with them. But that's sad. I have some more questions. This may be an obvious one, but I just want to know how, if at all, has your backgrounds been expressed in this latest record that you're going to be promoting?
Yes, of course, my backgrounds are expressed in our all records, and this is because I have a complex PTSD and I have a dissociation, and I'm not neurotypical, and this is the way how I can express myself in images and in symbols, and sometimes I haven't like connection with my between my narrative and my emotions because I have dissociation, and sometimes my emotions like my body holds my emotions, and I feel pain, and or I have like nightmares, like in this song.
Wow.
And when I express it through art, and when these symbols, these images, and when I like, the more I think about this, the more I play about this, the more I dance about this on stage, the more people listen it, the more I feel like I can the less pain I feel in my body because I can express it, and the more I can think about this, and the more I feel like healing.
Sure, sure.
And the more I understand what it was about. But it's quite difficult, this language of images and non-neurotypical language of visuals, visual language and symbols. Sometimes in leftist circle, they don't understand it.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm surprised that people would choose to leave what you guys are doing, considering how, if I may say so, how involved your creative life and expression is to your actual selves. Because I've interviewed quite a number of artists across the years, and more often than not, there are people who aren't even aware that what they're promoting isn't necessarily an extension of who they are, but how they want to market themselves so that other people will pay them attention. and you seem to be the real deal. So thank you for being authentic in that way. It's true. I have more questions. So what have been your coping mechanisms, bearing in mind the last question, as musicians to deal with the obstructions posed by the pandemic for live performance? Because you can't perform live now, so how have you dealt with it?
Well, first of all, I guess I should say that right at the start of the pandemic, our tour was cancelled. Pandemic.
Sorry.
I need Eugene to teach me English, and I definitely correct my grammar.
You're fine. Tell me more about this tour. I mean, is it been scheduled?
It was quite a big tour, and we just cancelled, or half of it got cancelled, the other half we cancelled, and then by necessity everything.
But we still had one gig, and when we had coronavirus.
Yes, we played the first show of the tour, so we could get coronavirus, and then
It is true. And we were ill for 3 months, very ill. So I even I was lying down in my bed, and I couldn't do anything. So
sure. Wow.
We couldn't play any gigs, anything, and then I ушел из social media.
Left the social media.
Social media for several months because I was too ill, and we lost quite some audience, I think, because you need, when you are musicians, you need to post content every day, and
yeah.
And I haven't like supportive community already told about this. We have audience, we have fans, but it's really hard. But we are live, and we did some music, and it was quite cool. And we communicated with nature, with forest. We came to see trees.
That's wonderful. I think there's quite a few people actually that I've spoken to. I was speaking to someone the other day about just going out and just enjoying nature. And obviously before the pandemic, we know it's there, but we can take it for granted, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So that's very true. So that's a good coping mechanism. Let's talk about your song finally, because as you know, I really like to promote the idea of the discussion about a community issue and then save the subjects till last. So you guys are in tAngerinecAt. You have a song and it's come out, it's called Something Broken Inside. I've got... Sorry?
Something broke inside.
Something broke inside, yes. But yes, I have 3 kind of miniature questions within that. What broke exactly? What broke it, and can it be fixed?
So I already said that it was from my nightmare. I was overwhelmed because I had a lot of issues here, because I didn't feel like I'm a migrant. I didn't feel like I'm unequal because I'm a migrant, and people here didn't see me as someone equal, and even fellow musicians didn't see me like someone who has musical history in different country, like someone who just appeared here and something like this. And I hadn't any community, and I was really isolated. And when I was overwhelmed, I had this nightmare that I spit in blood from my mouth, and then glass started to come out, and I wake up, and I just questioned myself, what was that? and I questioned myself every time. I don't really know, maybe it was my вера в себя,
belief in myself,
maybe it was hope or something like this.
Wow.
And
it's intense, because I can't help but think that when, particularly in the Western culture that I've grown up in, when you're like, say, 15, 16, you may give yourself the idea that you're the outsider, and you kind of like let that become an identity. And unfortunately, not myself, but people who I would consider like quite interesting and intelligent people, when they take on that identity and they get confronted by people such as yourselves who are legitimately from the outside and having to find a way of expressing themselves within a foreign culture, they often are treated as if that they are below. Do you know what I mean? And it shouldn't be that way. Like, you guys have got so much to offer because you're from an outside. That should be something that, for want of a better way of saying it, the community would want to embrace. So I feel like I have to apologize on behalf of Britain for Brexit now, but but seriously, I'm very, very, very happy to meet you and like to hear your music. Is there anything you wanted to basically say about your music to new fans or old fans in general before we wrap up the interview?
Извини, есть что-то, которое я хотел бы сказать по вашей музыке к вашей фаны или новой фаны, или вообще перед тем, как закрываем интервью?
I don't know. I want to say that we are really honest with you. This is what
That's
I
beautiful.
want to say.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'd like to hear more honest musicians, so thank you for being that way. Thank you for your time. Everyone, thank you for watching this mini episode of RANTBOX TV. We upload a new episode every week on Fridays before 12:30 p.m. noon. Do hit like and subscribe for more, and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or more. Yeah, next week's episode will be the second part of the question posed in episode 2. And that was, how has the idea of the superhero benefited fictional media, and what is the case for its negative impact on modern content? So I would very like to see you there. For now, I'll say goodbye to you and say goodbye to tAngerinecAt. Have a lovely day, and I hope lots of people click on your record. Take care.